Hello, everyone. I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux, who is actually somewhere here. I haven't run into them yet, but they're here at Metrotham Con. This is the first day of Metrotham Con. We're also going to be here Saturday and Sunday, all day.
Sunday.
Here with Mr. Guy Gilchrist. And, oh, man, you have a resume a mile long.
I know we don't carry it everywhere. It's too heavy.
Oh, I want to tell everybody, there's a story behind this interview. We were at Wizard World Nashville 2017, the last one that we attended, and coincidentally was the last one you attended, wasn't it?
Wizard?
Yeah, Wizard World Nashville 2000.
Wizard.
We so I go up to Mr. Gilchrist and I'm like, okay, I'm with Untitled Nerd Network. I think we're at 43,000 fans right now. Then we were at about 12,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, we're this little mom and pop organization out of Chattanooga. Can we get an interview? He's like, yeah, sure. So we scheduled it for like the very tail end of the show on Sunday. And then every time I would go back over to your table, there was a crowd like 4 deep all the way around the table.
Yeah.
And you had all kinds of programming that weekend. They were inducting you into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You said that's your hometown.
Yeah. For the last 20 years or so, Nashville. Yeah, and the extended family, the ex-wives and all of that, that was probably the 4 deep at the table. All looking for alimony checks and, payoffs.
It was hard to get through that. So I go over to your table and you weren't there, and there was rumors going around, we didn't get the interview, but there was rumors going around that there was like some kind of altercation, and you and I had fisticuffs.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And I heard that I picked up the big crystal award and chucked it at the back of your head and stuff like that.
What was that award for?
That was my Hall of Fame award.
Okay, I guess if it had like a engraving.
Yeah.
I guess if I would have looked at the back of my head,
it would have said that. Yeah. Well, you don't like with the Phantom. Like when the Phantom, the ghost who walks, when he punches you. He has the skull ring, and it leaves, the skull indentation. So I think it would have, in backwards, said, Wizard World, Hall of Fame, Hall of Legends, whatever,
It would have been more like Drazza.
I'm glad. I can write backwards, but I don't really talk backwards. That's a Beatles thing.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
so what are your thoughts on Paul McCartney dying back in the 60s?
He's sounding great for a corpse. I love Egypt Station, the new album that the dead McCartney has done. It's good stuff.
I actually haven't heard it.
Oh, it's really good, by the way.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's really
Because I know a lot of your, we're kind of getting off topic, but a lot of your younger kids...
Is there a topic?
No, we're just kind of here hanging out. Somebody had actually said, I think it was like on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken, was it Kanye West had McCartney did a collaboration?
Oh, that's true.
And people were like, man, if Kanye, pulls some strings, he can make McCartney into a big name. And people were like, you know who Paul McCartney is?
My youngest sister, when Wings was a big thing in the late 70s.
The band, not the TV show.
Right, Wings. The Paul McCartney's band Wings, Denny Lane and himself. Anyway, when that was a big thing, I remember my younger sister, no kidding, coming in and with her Wings album, and I said, "Oh, here, listen to I had Abbey Road or Let It Be or something like that." I said, "Here, if you like that, you'll really like this." She went, "Paul McCartney was in another band?"
I'm 35 years old, and I know that.
Well, and
Of course, my mother, I listen, I was brought up to listen more to stuff from the 50s, 60s, and 70s than I was the contemporary rock.
I actually was always like that, too. I was born in 57, January 57. My mother was a big, Elvis fan, and Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, Everly Brothers, and all of that. And but I actually grew up but I was sort of the Beatles generation, and then the Eagles were the big band when I was in high school in the '70s and all of that. But I always really, really liked the blues and the doo-wop, Dion and the Belmonts and all of that stuff. I really liked '50s stuff, and going even further back, into the '40s and '30s and everything. I've always been a really big fan, and this kind of is on topic. I was always a really, really big fan of finding out where the art came from. Like, how did it happen? And so, like, when the Beatles did an interview on the radio when I would have been 6 or 7, and they started talking about Buddy Holly and the Everly Brothers and Carl Perkins and all of that. I had those records. My mother did, and and I went back and I listened to all that stuff, and you could hear all the influences, and it's the exact same way in art, and in comics and all of that. You walk around this place, and whether it's anime or it's superheroes or it's whatever, it all goes back to the certain pioneers, whether it's Joe Shuster, and Bill Finger and stuff with Batman and Superman, or Kirby and all of that. It's all here, and then you can see who the influences of theirs were. And it's the same in my line of work, which is funny animals and cute girls and cute animals.
Everybody always, you don't get into that kind of business without some type of inspiration.
Of course, and you are what you read, you are what you eat, you are what you think, and people are always asking, how do you get into art and all of this stuff? We're talking about their style, and that's not my style, and it's not. Your style through your whole life from the very beginning it's a combination of three things. Okay, it is all the characters, all of the artists, writers, whatever. If we're talking cartooning and comics and stuff, which I think we are. So with me, was Walter Lantz and Disney and Dr. Seuss, Walt Kelly, Pogo, and of course, like I said, all the Disney guys, and many of the guys that, and as far as painting and everything, the guys that, people like Gustav Tengren that were doing the golden books of, Pinocchio and Peter Pan and stuff, that worked for Disney in the storyboard department, or, creating moods and sequences, working in character design. And all of those guys are all somewhere inside me, So there are your influences, then there is what you know and what you don't know how to do, And so your style is all of that, and it's ever evolving, because if you truly are an artist and you're truly creative, trying to be creative every day, then you're a student of life, you're a student of all art, and so you're practicing all the time, and so you're learning more and more and more, so your style is evolving, through your entire life. You look at any of the greats in cartooning. Look at like Neil Adams. Okay, he's still evolving. He's still learning. He's still evolving. None of us have plateaued. I think if you stop learning, if you for one moment think you're it, quit. Stop breathing, all of it.
That goes with everything.
Yeah, for everything. Like at my house, at my studio in Nashville, I have my light table that I've had forever. Okay, it doesn't even work anymore. It's this giant light table, bigger than this table, like twice as big as this table, and I got it like in '77 or something like that. But anyway, that's my table. Everything I've ever done worked on that table. I look up, and what I see every day, a drawing by Walter Lantz that he did for me, I look at, an incredible painting by Jack Davis, an incredible World War II daily that was given to me by Milton Caniff on the day that the Muppets happened. Notes of encouragement, and then artwork like John Cullen Murphy, Prince Valiant, you know, Jack Davis, Walt Kelly. I look at this stuff, and I have, when Woody Woodpecker jumps through the hole in the wood that he's made at the beginning of every cartoon?
Yes.
I have the key drawings for that signed by Walter.
Wouldn't take $1 million.
Oh, dude. But anyway, this is the stuff that I look at every day. And I have a note from Jim from when I was at the White House. And I look at that stuff, and I'll never be that good. I'll never be that good. And, that's what that's my struggle. That's what I'm working on. I'm working on it. I understand I'm 160,000 drawings into it. I'm working on it.
Man, I don't even know if I've written that many words.
Well, I don't know if that's the correct thing, but someone, remember 2 years ago, was it summer or of 17 when we had the eclipse and it was the big deal?
That was fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I got to just sit in my front yard and see it all happening, I had a real nice expanse there, and it was real cool. But anyway, someone at that time, they were doing a research project, and they had spent a lot of time with me. And, of course, there are many, many, many projects that I've worked on that the public will never know. And also, for every finished piece of art, there are at least 3 or 4 drawings, for everything, because you have your rough, you have your, you have your Titan pencils, you have your inks, you have your paints, whatever, But somebody figured out, they think, that between eclipses, or since I was 16, I guess, I've drawn 160,000 drawings. And that comes out to 300 or 400 a day. And that's probably right.
I think you were doing that at Wizard World.
Probably.
Because, I did.
Probably.
Every time I would walk up, of course, people were getting commissions and stuff. There was not a single time where I would walk up and you didn't have a pencil or a pen in your hand.
Yeah.
Drawing for somebody. And not only, this is what just, again, like, I didn't really say anything, but you are an illustrator. You've done...
I'm the cheapest illustrator I can find.
Well, we didn't go through a lot of your resume at the beginning.
Right.
But yeah, you illustrated Nancy.
Wrote and drew. I always call myself a cartoonist because I said I'm a writer first. When I was a little boy, in the late 50s and mid 60s, really I grew up in the mid 60s. We lived in a sort of isolated little town. It was a totally different world then, and the town was your world. So, in Connecticut, northern Connecticut, and I didn't know any better. I didn't know that that there were illustrators and writers and stuff like that. I just thought that you had to have a story, I mean, I was so out of it that I would look at books and see the type. And one of the reasons I'm a really good letterer is I practiced, thinking that that's what I needed to do to be able to letter that way. Like when I would see fancy type and stuff like that, I would do that, And because
like you mean
like typography, all that kind of stuff. I would just do it, And so I figured you drew, you painted, you wrote, you lettered, you did everything, and so that's why I do everything. Almost 23 years writing and drawing Nancy, and while I was doing Nancy, I was also doing Mud Pie and Nightlights and doing children's books, and because I think I started that in 95. And I was also working, for Major League Baseball, with Major League Baseball, doing logos and stuff.
That's one thing I didn't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Portland Sea Dogs and Slugger, it's like the most successful minor league uh, selling logo and stuff of all time. I made that all up.
Cool. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that you did work with baseball.
Oh yeah, a lot of it. A lot of
Okay.
it. It started in Japan.
Huh.
Really, I went over to Japan and created Japan's I created when the soccer World Cup was in Japan, Tokyo and stuff. I designed the mascot character for the World Cup. Long time ago, like
Wow.
late 80s or something. And so then I started working with Japanese baseball, like Cebu Lions and all of that, and Yomiuri Giants and those guys, the Dragons and stuff. And I worked with them, and then I came back over into the Eastern League, minor leagues, and started designing logos and creating the names and stuff of a whole bunch of teams. I worked with the Yankees, the Mets, the Marlins, which became the Red Sox. Sea Dogs was originally Marlins. And who else? Oh, and the Twins. Yeah,
Dang.
yeah. But then, of course, yeah. So anyway, the resume is, so with Jim, I'm Jim's original cartoonist.
I was gonna say, how'd you get mixed up in that? That seems like a
well,
really
that's
good
a
opportunity.
very long story. But yeah, very, and we should have probably started with that. Mort Walker's responsible for it. Mort Walker, Beetle Bailey, and High Lois. And Mort was like my father. I didn't have a father. Mort was as close as I ever got. But anyway, Mort suggested my name to King Features, and King Features had been looking for 2 years, and they'd gone through like about 200 people, and Jim and Michael K. Frith, Michael was Jim's everything, creative director, didn't like anybody, and then Mort suggested me, and King Features, Bill Yates called me. Well, I tried out. He liked what I did. I had no experience in, syndicated strips. I was a huge Muppets fan, though. I loved the Muppets from back in the Steve Allen, Jack Parr, Tonight Show, Rolf on the Jimmy Dean Show. Rolf here, Jimmy Dean. Rolf, what are you doing there? Jimmy, don't bother me. I'm writing a sonnet. Here, listen. This is good. My dearest lassie, how your fur glistens in the moonlight. What do you think, Jimmy? Oh, well, Rolf, that ain't no big bad job. I know it's better, right? It's better. Okay, leave me alone. You're blowing my muse, man. And I absolutely, loved Rolf. And, anyway, so yeah, so I tried out, and then I eventually got to meet Michael, and went to 117 East 69th Street. That was the brownstone where everything was. Eventually, where I met Jim about a year later, as since they liked me but didn't hire me yet, they hadn't turned me down. So I just kept writing and drawing, and eventually the phone rang. And it was Jerry Jewell, the head writer of the Muppets. And he told me I'd had the job for a month, and no one bothered to call me and tell me. And that became the biggest selling comic strip of all time.
Before that,
and all of that.
Had you drawn Muppets just on your own time?
No.
So you just went into that?
There were no pictures of the Muppets. There wasn't.
Oh, this was like the beginning.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
the show was going and everything.
Yeah.
And there was a painted book with watercolors called the Muppet Show book. And so, but like they had taken photographs during, remember there's no tape or anything like that back in those days. So they had, I don't know, there was a painted book that was a little bit of help. And so, but I watched them on TV. And I also went and looked at several Sesame Street Muppet books to get the idea of the shapes and how things were and all. And then I just did the best I could.
That's just neat hearing the story, the origin of that relationship and how that happened. I mean, I'm just like, it fascinates me.
But Michael K. Frith, Michael really taught me, how to do it. And I think the main reason, I mean, I don't know why God blessed me in that way. I mean, honestly, but, Michael really taught me everything. and I really, really, really wanted to learn. But I think I understood the Muppets. I, as a writer, I understood them, and I was doing things like making fun of the fact that they were in a comic strip because they parodied everything. And from the very beginning, I didn't have them always in the theater because I thought that that would be not work, for 365 days. But I was all seat of your pants. I made incredible mistakes, and all the stuff that you're too embarrassed, and you hope that no one will ever know. Well, good luck, because 70 million people were seeing it every day, while I was learning, and kind of getting my wings. But that's just the way it was. And then of course, babies and Fraggles and da 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 da, and Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and
Ninja Turtles.
Tunes and Ninja Turtles. Yeah, yeah. A lot of turtles. A lot of turtles.
Now, I'm like, specifically,
Yeah.
like, I'm wondering, like, Ninja Turtles, like, what specifically did you do with that property?
Um,
That's just coming from the nerd in me.
yeah. No. I get it. And I turned them down at first. Because when Roberta Purcell, my editor at Random House, we were doing everything with Random House and all the Muppet stuff and Looney Tunes and all that. I was doing everything with Random House. But I had a whole bunch of people that worked with me as well, in my studio, that were assisting me in different stuff. So Roberta would call me every once in a while if they got a new children's license that was coming in to see if I wanted it or did I want to give it to anybody that worked with me because, we were pros. And anyway, but she called me up one day and she says, "You're not going to believe this. I just got a note that says we're supposed to do a series of books on something called the Teenage Mutilated Ninja Turtles." Mutilated, yeah. Teenage Mutilated Ninja Turtles. And I'm cracking up, and I'm just laughing, and she's laughing. I went, "Oh my God, are you serious?" She goes, get this. Yeah, they do karate, they live in a sewer, they eat pizza, their boss is a rat. I'm going, stop. We're just in hysterics. And
When you put it like that.
yeah. And anyway, so of course I wasn't going to do it, and it sounded like disgusting and gross and everything, but it could have happened. They had Garbage Pail Kids and like really gross stuff. I don't know, and I don't know. But then about 2 or 3 weeks later, a guy from Jersey calls me, and he's like, "You turned me down." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "You turned me down." I'm like, "What is a mob calling me?" And it's like some guy from Jersey, and I'm going, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm the turtle guy." I go, "The mutilated turtles that live in a sewer?" He's going, "They're not mutilated, they're mutated. It's cute. It's cute. I got these cute little turtles, and they go into like some green goopy stuff, and then they turn into like superheroes. It's cute." He says, it's like like the little guy on My Favorite Martian, and then you get him mad, and then he turns into like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. He's big and green, and he beats people up. It's kind of the same, but it's cute. And I'm like, anyway, the guy, he actually turned out to be a nice guy. He wasn't a mob or anything. He's a really nice guy, and he was the head of sales for Playmate Toys, which was the original, And,
I know.
okay. And so what was going on? This was like a year and a half or something like that before the actual television show happened. And, and Kevin and Peter had sort of fallen into this thing where television, books, toys, all of this stuff was happening. And so they knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody that reached out to me because I was a guy that did all of that. So that's what I did. And so, all the Random House books, those are the first paintings of the turtles and all that stuff that was on me in my studio. And we took the original pilot and broke it up into books and all of that, cutened all the characters up, sort of got rid of a lot of the scary stuff. And anyway,
They did that all around for like the cartoon and everything.
Well, yeah, and I was part of that process.
Cool, because I've always wondered how it went. Because, I've read the first probably 24 issues of the actual black and white comic,
Yeah.
which was very adult oriented.
Very violent.
And
yeah.
they took it from that
Yeah.
to what I grew up watching.
I was part of that process.
That's
Yeah.
really, that's awesome. Just
Yeah.
to,
And then we did all the books, yeah. But I was part of the creative process, on getting that sort of straightened out.
and I read those books, those Random House books that,
Yeah.
various stories. And
Yeah,
they were like
Shrinking Turtle and
Yeah.
Return to Shredder and the Magic Crystal and all that stuff.
So
yeah,
did you like watch the TV show to prepare for making the book?
There
Or they
was
just-
no TV show.
Okay, so you did this before the show.
It was a year and a half before anything. No, I got
the scripts.
I got the
Okay.
I got the original first pilot drawn, and it was only drawn in, it was pencil drawings. It was a
Storyboards.
storyboard. Yeah. They were still pitching. They were still working on this.
Cool.
Oh yeah, no, there
This
wasn't
is
anything.
early
Very
days.
early. Yeah. No, there was
Man.
nothing. There was nothing. Yeah.
That's awesome, because I'll tell you, one of the main things that I love about doing what I do with this channel is being able to talk to people like you who had such a instrumental part of making those things that I lived for from the ages of, like, I was probably 6 to 13 or 14.
Now to now.
yeah, now. And because, the Ninja Turtles have made a comeback.
Oh,
And
yeah.
a lot of the stuff that you worked on then is in very high demand now.
Yeah.
Specifically the books and things.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are things that kids got a hold of. They tore them up. And now
Oh, yeah.
they're in high demand because they don't exist.
Well, sure.
And so that's cool. Like,
Oh, it's crazy, when they there's a book of mine. It wasn't a turtle book. A book called Strummer the One of a Kind Duck that I wrote, and but there were only 15,000 printed a really long time ago, sometime in the mid '80s or whatever, and they're going for like, it was a $2 book or $3 book or whatever, when we put it out. It's like $700 online now. It's like, seriously?
it was
Well,
like,
and it's always funny because people think like your most popular stuff is
Yeah.
the stuff that's super expensive. It's not. It's the stuff that you put out that there was very few of, and that's
yeah.
that's what'll. But it's crazy because it's like, to me, it's just that book that I used to hand out at Christmas and Halloween to all the kids.
Well, it was funny because when we were at Wizard World,
Mm-hmm.
I had talked to, I was making my rounds in Artist Alley and everything, and Tom Cook, who was,
Oh gosh, Tom's one of my dear friends. Yeah.
he, I met him and he did some Garfield stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wait, was it?
No, I don't think he did. He
Was
did
it not
like,
him?
No, he didn't do Garfield.
Tom Cook did the
He-Man.
Ghostbusters.
No, he did He-Man. He did all the Filmation stuff, Thundar, He-Man, She-Ra, and all that. And he also did all the Hanna-Barbera stuff. But he may have done. I mean, I don't know everything that Tom did.
Somebody,
But I wasn't aware of that.
I was thinking it was Tom Cook.
Mhm.
I could be wrong, but they did the Bullets, Babes and Bullets, animated Garfield
Huh.
cartoon.
Well, they may have.
If it wasn't him, I apologize.
No, but you know what? It may have. He's a great animator. I mean,
yeah.
he may have been. He may have done that.
I had a.
That's news to me, though.
Well, we were
I'll
talking
ask him.
about the book.
Yeah.
I actually had a hardcover of Garfield and His 9 Lives, and it had the Babes and Bullets story in there. And I handed it to him, and I said, "Hey, I've had this book since I was like in kindergarten. My mom got it for me. Can you autograph it?" And he looked at it. He's like, "I've never seen this in hardcover before."
For real?
He had seen the paperback, but he didn't know that a hardcover was created.
Dude, there are, people bring stuff up to me at appearances all the time that I didn't know were out there. Especially the Turtles, because, Mirage was wonderful. Like, my art wound up, being used on a whole ton of things, from Trapper Keepers, they used it on everything, But they were always wonderful. They would, even if they weren't telling me what the products were and stuff, they would always send me a note and send me a check. Hey, we reused your art on da-da-da-da-da. But of course, that was all sold a long time ago, to whoever owns it now, Universal or Nick or whoever it is that owns Turtles now, I forget. And of course, they use my stuff sort of all the time, and of course, they don't pay anyone anything, and they just reuse it over and over again. And I have seen the painting I did of Raphael, where he's sort of coming at you, on the very first book. I think the book is called Return of the Shredder. Out of all the drawings, the paintings I've done and stuff of the Turtles, that has been reproduced millions and millions and millions and millions of times. I was over in Dubai a couple years ago, and there were at least 15 to 20 different products that had the Turtles from those book covers on them over on that side of the world that I'd never seen before. It happens all the time.
They actually kind of parodied that in there was a Simpsons episode where they, I think, met, I guess, the woman who had done the Meep Meep of Roadrunner.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, yeah, the cheap bastards just recorded it one time and used it over and over.
But honestly, I was always so, now my artwork was never, we never reprinted the stuff I did with Jim, because everything that we did in Muppet World, we did specifically for each and every product, each and everything. We never reprinted anything. But of course, then that all got sold, after Jim left us. And so what they do with stuff now, I have no idea. I see my stuff on stuff I didn't know I did. It's everywhere.
What was the time frame for your Turtles work?
Turtles work would have been...
Was it a constant ongoing thing through the life of the initial franchise?
No, it was really like a year.
Okay.
It was like a year. It was a year before the show came out. I did all my work on it.
I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, the show came out in
89, 88, something like that.
I was thinking 87.
Yeah, so then it would have been 86 or something. 86 to 87 was when I was doing my stuff then.
It was either 87 or 89.
Yeah, something like that. But it was for about a year and a half before the show came out. Because once the show came out, I was all done. We did some more stuff for another maybe 6 months to a year after it came out. But it was all sort of licensing stuff. Halloween costumes and more books and all that stuff. But my creative part of it was way before.
I was wondering,
because I think of the creative part of it, really. I'm
wondering if they're still using your stuff even now.
Oh, sure.
Because
I saw a bunch of stuff of mine.
Well, it's like a DVD. They released the DVDs maybe 10 years ago or something, and they had the cartoony work. And I'm wondering if maybe
they do.
You did that.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I saw. They sell, just the turtle masks with the eyes on mugs and on T-shirts and all that stuff. I did that.
Okay. Yeah,
and I did it and sometimes the pupils of the eyes are all messed up. You know why? Because when I did those masks, they were for the Halloween costumes that were the original plastic masks for your little kids, right? Ben Cooper costumes or whoever it was that I did those for. And so the eye holes, there were no, I didn't draw any pupils in. So it's funny to see that artwork that was on those original, kid Halloween masks being used on like a gazillion different things, and people put anime weird eyes in and all kinds of different, And
you could tell it didn't fit.
Yeah, you could tell it don't fit. But they do it anyway because the art's done.
You did like some Muppet Babies stuff.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Way more than Turtles, man.
That's another thing. Because that is
all of it.
Because you see Muppet Babies is one of those, I don't want to call it a lost franchise because they are putting out it's like a new CGI Muppet Babies. But the old...
Which has been nominated for 4 Emmys the other day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's but go ahead. You were
well,
talking about that.
I'm one of those individuals. I'm turning into the old man on the porch yelling at the kids.
Oh, I know. It's not my Muppet Babies.
It's not my Muppet Babies.
I know,
but the thing is, my Muppet Babies you can't find anywhere.
Well, no, you can't.
You can't find any of the old printed, none of the cartoons.
Well,
nothing.
and you know why.
Licensing or something.
Yes,
I'm not.
the trademarks and copyrights and the usages, because Jim and us had a wonderful working relationship with everyone, be it Universal, Spielberg, Lucas, all of that. So we liberally used, all of that, all sorts of footage. Uh, from Star Wars and Indiana Jones and stuff to Chaplin and Keaton and all kinds of stuff. We used all sorts of different things, and you'll never get all the approvals that you need to put that stuff out.
One of the things that I was hoping for, because they use a lot of Star Wars,
Right.
some stuff, and it seemed almost like a pipe dream, like, oh, we'll never get this, but there's a lot of hope out there that.
There is. Well, look, Disney just bought.
Yes,
Fox.
that's what I was getting
and
at.
Eventually, they'll own everything, and then they'll put it out.
Yeah. Are you rooting for that, to see that stuff?
Oh, I really wish it would come out. I mean, because it's obviously it's something very, very close to my heart. I had a lot to do with the creation of all of that, and the original characters and the story arc, and then all of the toys and everything, and all of that, And so, I hope it comes out. There back in VHS days, there was one collection that came out, of like 12 episodes or something like. But and by then Jim had passed, and so and if you guys have those VHS tapes, yes, that's my art on them. They took it from other stuff that I did and stuck it on there. And but I really wish it would, because that was a wonderful, wonderful series. We won Emmys every single year. We may be the only franchise that won Emmys in reruns. I mean, we
wow,
won Emmy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we did very, very well with all of that stuff. But everyone worked very, very hard on it, and it's too bad, that it's not out there. But that's the reason, and it's one of the main questions that people ask me. Is it ever going to come out? It's my favorite show. Da 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 da. Or when are the last 2 seasons of the Muppets going to come out? Muppet Show.
Is that something you have any kind of active hand in?
Gosh, no. I mean, no. That's all. No. That's all Disney, and no, it's all Disney, and I've worked with Disney on and off my whole life since I was 16, and they've always been very, very nice to me, and but there's no reason for me to be there. I was paid very handsomely by Jim, and Henson Associates. To do literally, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of drawings and paintings and stories and everything, and they have all that. Like when they put the digital version together, they scanned my stuff heavily.
Your art's probably going to be on like a DVD menu or something.
Oh yeah, for real. Oh, of course it will.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's neat to talk to somebody like you who has kind of a view of behind the scenes of how our favorite childhood shows and properties came to be. Because it wasn't just like cartoons. You were there for a lot of the origins of just about anything you could imagine as far as like, the Henson properties. And, because it was kind of neat because, Henson actually had a hand in the Ninja Turtles films.
Of course.
With the animatronics and all that stuff. Because I remember.
Yeah, with the creature shot. Yeah, Jim. They built those costumes, and all of the animatronics and all of that. The look of the film was very much Jim. Yeah.
I remember. When I think the second Ninja Turtles film came out, I was maybe 7 years old. And, I didn't pay attention to news and the comings and goings of celebrities and stuff. And I remember seeing. At the beginning of Ninja Turtles 2, as it started, it says, in memory of Jim Henson.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that, and I asked my mom, who's Jim Henson? She was like, oh, he's the one who did all the Muppets and Muppet Babies. And that, even as a kid, that really kind of hit me. Like, I'm like, oh, he did all this stuff. And actually seeing his in memoriam message in Ninja Turtles 2 was what got me interested in knowing who he was. And then I started to become, even at that age, more interested even in how those things came to be, how the animatronics, and that was my first kind of peek behind the curtain at that point. And then it really wasn't the same after that.
Yes. Well, one of the things that we do, if when you see our booth over there, there's several pictures, of me and Jim and the original Muppets, and me at the White House with the Muppets and all of that stuff, and a lot of Jim, and it says Jim Henson's cartoonist. A lot of people know Kermit, and they know Sesame Street, and they know the babies. And, we have another little generation now of 1 and 2 year olds and everything that are watching the babies and are watching, the Disney version of the Muppet Show. And they don't know who Jim is. Yeah. And that, and there's not much I can do except to let them know that, if you love these characters that are being carried on, hi. I worked with Jim. Let me tell you about him.
And that's something that you're doing.
That's
at
what
every appearance.
That's why I do this.
Yeah.
That's why I do this.
That's awesome. I mean, because it really is. I didn't know till that age, and they're. I guess it's just kind of the passage of time. That kind of thing just happens. Even somebody as influential as him, you still have to have those people putting his name out there to keep him in everybody's thoughts.
Yes. Well, yeah, because there are people that, there are children who don't know who Walt Disney is, too. So, and I'm sure that Jim would be fine with it. I'm sure that Jim loves the fact that the characters are making people happy.
He didn't really strike me as one who was out for personal glory or fame or anything. He just wanted to entertain.
No, Jim, Jim really loved to make the world happy. And that's been my thing my whole life, too.
Awesome. Well, I want to go in a different direction before we wrap. In the years that you've been doing this, I want...
Doing what?
Everything.
Oh,
in the
okay.
years
in the
you've
years
been doing it all.
Everything.
Oh, we're covering all the way to the beginning, all the way to the Genesis.
Right.
I'm guessing that you have to have at least a story or two that would
Of what?
be worth telling. Let's say something funny. That
All right, you know what? All right. Okay. Well, we've been doing this a while, and I'm. Most of the stories are very, very long, but I'll tell you one. That
I'm good
I think
with
is
it.
Very, very telling.
Okay.
About Jim. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, I had already been to the White House by Jim's good graces, because when President Reagan called the Muppets and asked Jim to be guest of honor at the White House in '84 for the Easter festivities. They said, the president, his favorite comic strip is the Muppets,
That's got to be.
Oh yeah, and so then Jim, this is how Jim was, and Jim just said, but that's the comic strip, that's Guy. Send Guy, he'll like that. And that's how I wound up being, guest of honor at the White House and having my stuff at the Smithsonian and all that stuff.
Wow.
But we're sort of closing up and wrapping up and everything. And I want to, and at my age now, this is wonderful advice. And Jim gave me this advice a long time ago. It was the first year, I think it was probably '85 maybe. It was the year that Fraggles came out, and we had a Fraggle float in the Macy's parade. And we had the big balloon of Kermit and stuff, and we had Fraggles on unicycles and bicycles and stuff like that going down the street and everything. And anyway, it was very, very windy, and for a moment, And Kermit started drifting over Central Park and stuff, and they were trying to get anyway. And I found myself in the car, in the limo, with Jim. Uh, very briefly, just me and him alone, you know. And Jim took that moment, and imagine now it's like what, 25? I'm gonna say something like that, 25, 26, and everything was happening very quickly. Anyway, Jim said, you know, we try so hard. And we work so hard. And there are so many things happening all at once. And we're trying to do all of these things. Be sure to stop. Use all of your senses and take it all in. Because no matter what, it will never happen this way exactly ever again. Don't miss it.
Wow.
And you guys out there that think, you know, I've had a wonderful and cool life and you would like to be able to do some of the things that I've done, you know, remember that. Remember that. The trying hard, not quitting and all of that. But while you're doing it, embrace the fact that you're doing it. I can't explain to anyone what it's like to be working on literally 24 projects of worldwide scope all at the same time. I can't explain that to you. Okay? I can't. You have to be there. You know, but one of the things that I see that's very sad and I'm going to be the old man on the porch and too darn bad. Most of the people I meet have the attention span of a hummingbird, you know, on Adderall or something, like absolutely like, you know, and can't focus for 5 seconds, and you have your phone and your tablet and your phone and your tablet and your phone and your tablet, and not only, and you're wondering why it seems like you're running in mud and you're not getting ahead. Put that stuff away. Focus. You know, here's two wonderful, wonderful things. You could be up at bat against Nolan Ryan or Clayton Kershaw, you know, anyway, one of the great pitchers in baseball, and you could go to Disneyland, right, and ride a roller coaster. But if you did either of those at the same time, you know, you multitaskers, okay? But if you were trying to do both of those at the same time, you'd get hit in the head with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and you'd probably be, you know, flattened at the bottom of a roller coaster, okay? Multitasking means messing up more than one thing all at the same time.
It's true.
You want to focus and develop within yourself the brain power, the stamina, and the self-discipline to put everything that you have into the things that you're working on. And the way to do that for you is you'll have to figure that out. But putting the outside stuff away and only having the influence of a music or something like that that will help your muse or whatever it happens to be, just like when you're working out, right? If you're working out in a gym and stuff and you're running on a treadmill, you're not talking on the phone, you know, but you do it when you're trying to create. You will create garbage, or you will create something wonderful, but it will take you 100 times longer than it should have, you know. And so please, 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 if you want to get anywhere, and you focus, and give it your all, and don't ever think it's, well, it's good enough. But make sure that you have deadlines, and make sure that you always meet those deadlines or get in before those deadlines. Don't make apologies, don't make excuses, don't do anything. Okay, put everything that you have into it, because if you don't, no one will ever know how wonderful you might be. And what a terrible shame. When Jim hired me, I didn't know how I was going to be, but he did. And he was the most wonderful boss, because he knew he would give you a job and then not tell you how to do it. And you would try so hard to please him and not disappoint him. And then in my own, as I moved on in my life and I had people that worked for me, I also knew that they were doing the same thing, that they were, and it is reaching inside yourself to put something wonderful out there. And regardless of if you're in the creative arts or if you're in sports or you're, in medicine or you're selling car insurance, whatever it is you're doing, we all can make the world a better place. One of the last things that Jim ever said, and of course he didn't know it was going to be one of the last things, he didn't know he was going, right? But, he made a point of saying, I love you to me all the time, and being kind. And one of the last things he said was, be kind to everyone, always. And just think about that for a minute. What does that mean? Be kind to everyone, always. That means don't puff yourself up, okay? Be kind to others. Also, don't tear yourself apart. Be kind to yourself. Realize that we're all equal, whether we're frogs, bears, or gonzos. We're all equal. And love each other. And be the best version of yourself. And that will, and in the way that you act toward people, in your loving and kind way to yourself and to the rest of the world, and be focused on giving the best of yourself in your work, in your personal life, and all of that. And we will make this world that wonderful place that all of you guys that love the Muppets and everything that Jim stood for and everything that I've been working on in my life, it's happening, you guys. Okay, it's happening.
That's true. I've never seen you be anything but positive. That's words to live by. All right, I guess that's an excellent way to close the interview. Thank you for coming on and being a part of Untitled Nerd Network.
My pleasure,
2
man.
years in the making.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh,
What are you going to do?
I'm happy because it was worth the wait. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Again, everybody, this is Mr. Guy Gilchrist, all caps, down there at the bottom. Here at Metrotham Con, we're on day 1. We've still got 2 more days, 2 full days, 2.5 days. We're just getting started.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. I don't know, what time is it? Well, we're just past 2 o'clock. We've still got a few more hours.
What time is it? Hi, I'm not really a dog doctor, but I play one on TV, and I'm missing my tea time. Okay.
Anyway, thank you, everyone. I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, here with Guy Gilchrist at Metrotham Con, and hope to see you before the weekend's up.